He was just walking home. No crime, no trouble, just a man in his own neighborhood. But in seconds, his life changed forever. What happened next wasn't just about him. It exposed a harsh reality that still haunts us today. This is his story, and it's one America tried to forget. Before we dive in, I'd love to know, have you ever witnessed something that didn't seem fair? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if this story grabs you, give it a like so others can see it too. It was just another Thursday afternoon. Alex had finished his shift and was driving home, the radio humming softly in the background. He had always been careful, following the rules, keeping to himself, and trying to avoid trouble. His car glided down familiar streets, the sun creating long shadows that covered the pavement. People waved as they passed, neighbors going about their day. Everything seemed normal, but in a matter of moments that normalcy would shatter. A flashing light appeared in his rearview mirror, and Alex had no idea that a routine stop was about to turn into a moment he'd never forget. Alex pulled over to the side of the quiet street, heart beating just a little faster than usual. The policewoman approached, her shoes clicking sharply against the pavement. At first, her tone was routine, asking for his license and registration, but there was something in her voice, a sharp edge that didn't belong to a standard traffic stop. Alex handed over his documents, trying to keep his hands steady, trying to appear calm. Seconds stretched. She scrutinized his papers, her eyes flicking up to meet his with a look that made his stomach twist. Then came the fine, a minor traffic violation, but it wasn't the fine that unsettled him. It was her next words, spoken with a smirk that made Alex's chest tighten. "If you weren't married, I'd give you my number." Shock paralyzed him for a moment. He blinked, unsure if he'd heard correctly. The absurdity, the audacity, the unspoken power in her statement. It was everything he hadn't expected. Around them, the street remained quiet, oblivious. No one saw, and no one would intervene. The injustice, masked as flirtation, left Alex reeling. If you think this encounter is shocking, make sure you stay with me until the end. You won't believe what happens next. And it's a moment that really makes you question the system. He clenched his fists, trying to steady himself, knowing that challenging her could make things worse, yet knowing that remaining silent felt equally wrong. As she stepped back, flipping through her notepad with exaggerated casualness, Alex realized this wasn't about him breaking any law. It was about control, about authority weaponized against someone simply because of who he was. His mind raced. He thought about how many times he had been underestimated, overlooked, or judged before. And now, here it was again, in sharp, undeniable form. The air between them thickened. Every word she spoke seemed calculated, a reminder of a system that could bend rules without consequence. Alex's pulse quickened, not just with fear, but with a simmering anger that he couldn't afford to show. His hands gripped the steering wheel tighter. Every instinct screamed caution, but every ounce of his being resisted the humiliation. Then she leaned slightly closer, lowering her voice in a tone that should have been private but felt like it was broadcasted just for him. "You should feel lucky. Not everyone gets this kind of attention." The words lingered, heavy and sharp, cutting through the silence of the empty street. Alex forced a smile he didn't feel, nodding without trusting himself to speak. As she finally returned to her car, Alex exhaled slowly, but the tension didn't leave him. The stop had ended, yet the moment lingered like a shadow. Alex's hands still shook as he gripped the steering wheel, every muscle tense. The policewoman returned to his window, her expression now colder, sharper, like she had all the power in the world, and he had none. She leaned in slightly, her eyes locking on his, and for a moment, time seemed to stop. Every instinct screamed danger. Every memory of stories he had heard about people like him flashed through his mind. He had done nothing wrong, yet he felt exposed, vulnerable, like he was suddenly standing in a storm with no shelter. Her tone shifted, cutting through the air like a knife. "Do you know who I could call if I wanted to make your life difficult?" She asked, a warning disguised as a question. Alex's chest tightened. Fear and outrage collided, each one sharper than the other. He realized this wasn't about a ticket or even a flirtatious comment anymore. It was about control. about reminding him of his place in a world that judged him before it even looked. He tried to speak, to defend himself, but words caught in his throat. Every heartbeat felt like a countdown, each second stretching impossibly long. The quiet street around them made the tension unbearable, every shadow a threat. He wanted to leave, to drive away, but even that felt impossible without inviting more danger. Then she smiled faintly, almost casually, as if delivering a verdict. "Consider yourself lucky today," she said. Those words hit harder than any fine, more painfully than any threat, because they carried a truth he had known too well, that fairness and justice didn't always apply equally. Alex exhaled slowly, forcing himself to stay calm, to not let the humiliation and fear win. But as the patrol car pulled away and the flashing lights disappeared into the distance, he knew this encounter would stay with him forever. Alex finally made it home, the familiar streets offering little comfort after the tension of what had just occurred. He parked his car, hands still trembling, and leaned back for a moment, trying to process everything. The ticket itself was minor, insignificant compared to the weight of the experience. What stayed with him was the reminder of how easily power could be misused and how quickly normal life could twist into fear and humiliation for no reason other than the color of his skin. That night, Alex replayed the encounter over and over in his mind. The smirk, the words, the unspoken threat, it all lingered. But alongside the anger and frustration, a quiet determination began to grow. He realized that staying silent would only let such behavior continue unchecked. His experience was personal, but it was also a reflection of a broader truth. Millions of people face similar moments every day, moments where authority and bias collide in ways that leave lasting scars. As he thought about what had happened, Alex understood that stories like his matter. They reveal uncomfortable truths, forcing society to confront the injustices that persist even in ordinary moments. The encounter wasn't just a ticket, a comment, or a fleeting moment. It was a stark reminder that vigilance, courage, and awareness are essential in the fight against inequality. And so, as Alex finally stepped into his home, he carried more than fear. He carried awareness, a voice and a story that needed to be told. The question now wasn't whether he had survived that encounter. It was whether the world would see and acknowledge the countless others who hadn't. How many times would injustice repeat itself before we all chose to stand and demand change? If this story hit you as hard as it did me, make sure to share it with someone who needs to hear it, leave a comment with your thoughts, and hit like so more people can see it. And if you want to never miss stories like this, subscribe now and turn on notifications. There's more coming that will make you think, feel, and question the world around us.